Hey everybody, this is Perch. Every once in a while, you get this interesting phenomenon where critics and complaints all kind of come from different directions, and they collide in new and interesting ways, which gives us all a lot of excitement and craziness. The Eternals is a movie coming out here just in a week or two. It's already been shown to critics. There are reviews out there. The spoilers about the post-credit sequence, which I think is, to me, is has no impact on anything. But sure, I could care less. Is kind of my answer. I'm not going to spoil them here. But it's getting an interesting response. We've lived in a world now of two sides, if you will, of polarization. Like this film is too woke. This film is not woke enough. This film is retread, it's nostalgia, it's appealing to the toxic fan base, or this movie is needlessly changing legacy characters in order to get social justice points. This has kind of been the back and forth for a number of movies. This film has a Mary Sue, this film doesn't have enough Mary Sues, and so on. But like I said, every now and then you get a case where lots of different points of view all kind of slam together, and then you just get a mess. And it feels like that's coming for the Eternals. The Eternals is first of all, it's being billed as quote unquote the most diverse movie that Marvel has ever had, and they mean both with ethnicities, and also there is a queer couple that apparently shares a kiss, and this is a big deal for members of the queer community who didn't necessarily appreciate the blink and you miss it kind of moment in Endgame, where there was kind of sort of something, or you kind of had to read vibes off of Valkyrie, or just kind of this one. It's open, and so some people are happy about that, and so that's one argument here. There's a group ready to defend this movie because they're ready for the anti-diversity people to come and attack it. So they're standing there, they're ready. They're like, this film is going to be the best Marvel movie of all time because diverse cast, and anyone who attacks it is coming after diversity. The challenge is there's also a group of people. It's not exactly normies, but it's people who have an expectation of what a Marvel movie is supposed to be. That it's a formula. It's a formula people like. It doesn't challenge them, doesn't threaten them. It just kind of rolls out there, like a warm bowl of soup, and you enjoy it. It's good, and then you kind of move on with your life, go to the next one. And Eternals, it basically, it's setting up a bigger scope. First of all, it does not have the benefit of a lot of connections. Very few people know who the Eternals even are. It's trying to do cosmic. It's trying to also thread the needle of, these are super powerful, amazing people who can do anything. They have all the powers. It's really incredibly cool. But they haven't interfered in all of the big things that we've had, which was going to be a Marvel problem coming up. Shang-Chi managed to avoid it, of course. Black Widow was set in the past. This is the first movie where you're admitting you basically have Superman-level characters hanging around on the Earth that didn't bother to interject with Thanos or the Dark Elves or any of the various Ultron clusterfucks, any of that kind of stuff. And so it becomes a tough answer. It's a little bit the same problem you have when you open up the door or raise the curtain and say, hey, wait a minute. Why aren't the heroes helping out with the climate crisis? If the entire world's going to be inhospitable, uninhabitable in 20 years. I mean, according to that little girl who's always angry, we're not going to live on the planet in a few decades. You'd think the Eternals would swing into action. It's kind of what you have happen here. So being able to adjust for that is bugging people. So you have this group of people who are now coming in the reviews, basically criticizing this film as being navel-gazing, as not having a good script, as, what's the quote? There's a strange self-sabotaging energy at the heart of this landmark blockbuster. Lots of exposition, lots of all this stuff that is colliding with a group that says, hey, we have a first openly gay superhero, we have a first deaf superhero, we have some gender swaps going on, we have a lot of different ethnicities, so you've got a lot of diversity, but on the other hand, you've got this situation where the characters are cold, aloof, the plot is convoluted, very, just a a strange. There's some of the quotes coming out of this are hysterical. The Guardians quote, "Eternals is magic hour meets PowerPoint." Wow. I mean, that's just a hell of a, I don't know. There's some great quotes in here that are funny. So it's the galumphing new offering is a white elephant. Okay. Compassionate eye and feel for landscape. So you have that going on. Then you have, I think, some, you have the problem of, I think, longtime comic fans who are coming to this, and the Eternals is not a blank slate exactly, but it's not as defined as many of the other things that are going on. And they're looking at this going, wait a minute, why did you gender swap some of these characters? Why did you change the mythology? Why did you, do all these things that made the movie very differently? Now, in fairness, the MCU has been doing this for quite a long time. This isn't exactly something new that's gone on. So this is the same complaint that group has had for a while, but that's playing into this here too. And then I think you have, some superhero exhaustion coming out. You have some people who are naturally kind of against the next big thing from Marvel and kind of how it dominates and are looking for stuff. So all of this loads up to a bit of a mess. It loads up to just lots of moving parts and not a lot of good thread connecting them. The film does come out in 5th of November. Spoilers are out there. The spoilers are enough to know that at no point during the movie is like Captain Marvel or the Hulk or Thor going to show up and, kind of lend that weight to the film. That probably would have been a good idea if you are trying to thread it into the Marvel Universe, given how disconnected it is. I think that Guardians of the Galaxy, people looked at that going, well, this is a pretty obscure team and it worked for them. Yeah, except, the Marvel Universe was red hot at that time. You did have this building threat of Thanos, and Thanos appeared in the movie. There was a bunch of elements of Guardians that we're always going to make. And Chris Pratt was definitely a rising star kind of at that moment, somebody who's funny, some action. I think it felt like a Marvel movie. Eternals being a movie that's got a lot of world building and got a lot of kind of big areas. Again, another quote here: hiring a writer-director who specializes in muted documentary-like dramas for an action spectacular about interstellar demigods might not have been the wisest choice. The part that's most entertaining is kind of what I referenced at the beginning. It's the people who are determined to say, no, this is a great movie, probably won't even watch the movie because of the casting, because of the director, because you've got somebody who's, they really want to see a more diverse cast, more diverse, all that kind of stuff. So they're on board to support it. And then you have people coming in saying, this is the wrong person for the wrong film. And so the attacks begin. But unfortunately, the attacks are not going up against the same old people that they're used to fighting with. It's going up against this, it's really colliding into a bunch of different things. So, it's BBC Culture, 3 stars, Empire, 3 stars, The Guardian, 2, Telegraph, 2, The Times, the New York Times, 2. So there's a lot of for lack of a better word, left-wing outlets that are calling this film not great, not particularly exciting, too much going on. Big dramatic third act that kind of feels exhausting, too much exposition in the first 2 acts. That's kind of what Marvel's been for a while. But now we get to sit back and watch the fight of a number of different groups who are not used to fighting each other. In the end, is this movie going to be any good? I mean, I've read enough of the reviews. I've seen enough of the bits. We'll see. I will watch it because I watch all this stuff. But I do think I had always pegged this film as being a tough long shot, and I think it will be. It needed to have some big shocking surprise, either a completely breakout performance, and given the cast, it was going to be very hard for there to be one. And there's some good actors in there, but there's a lot of them in there. So if you're going to have one character just break out like Chris Pratt did in Guardians, rather than kind of competing for time with 5 people, 2 of which are CGI, you're having to compete against 12. Basically, it's going to be hard for an actor to break out or an actress to break out. It has questions that are tough to answer. So it's going to be a tough film. It'll be nice to have it out, and I think Marvel at this point is kind of anxious to get it out and move past it and get on to some of the things they have coming out next year, which are a little bit more of their tent poles and everything else. How they thread the Eternals into that is a good question, where ultimately this goes. But, we'll see. Maybe this movie comes out and knocks it out of the park. But I still maintain Shang-Chi does look like the film that's going to, when all is said and done, make the most money. And that makes sense. It's straightforward. There's not a lot of depth to old Shang-Chi. It is what it is. And so it makes sense that this would be the result. We will see how this all lands. But yeah. So I guess, are you going to see Eternals? More importantly, or I don't know, more importantly, but for my context, it's fun to watch some other groups fight it out for a change on this stuff. I'm tired of the culture war being maintained and waged by the same two groups of people. And so I hope that the people who really love to dive in and go at movies, you do have a gay couple in this movie. Apparently there's a legit on-screen sex scene here, I guess, for a genuine sex scene and an on-screen gay kiss. Don't know if those are the same thing. First for the MCU, okay. I hope that people take a back seat to this and don't dive in to the culture. Just let some other groups fight it out for a change. Take a break. Just let some other people have this argument. I like the fact that the big crux of the fight as it started is that one side saying, but this film is very diverse. This film's got a lot of firsts. That's important. And the other side is saying, yeah, that's great, except it's not enjoyable. That's interesting. I want to see how that argument plays out. Anyway, let me know if you're going to go see this in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. And thanks for listening.